When I tell you it took me a month to get my money back, I was frustrated that a lot of my audience didn't see this, like, from my perspective. Maybe a hot take. Someone accused me of using that money on myself. It doesn't justify bullying, and I know some of you were concerned about my mental health. So for AdSense income, net income, we'll say, hello everybody. Today I'm going to do what the kids call spilling the tea on what it's really been like being a full-time content creator, having left my 9-to-5 job a year and a half ago now. This endeavor has come with many perks and privileges that I want to acknowledge, like setting my own schedule, being my own boss. I get some free product and get opportunities to be in rooms I wouldn't be in otherwise. I'm able to sustain myself living alone in one of the most expensive cities in the world. But there's a whole another side to things that's not so glamorous, that was unexpected a bit and really affected me behind the scenes. And that's kind of what I want to get into today. This is a topic that I've never really talked about before in this much depth. I don't like breaking the fourth wall on my channel. I like to try and keep things light. I'm just hoping that this video reaches aspiring content creators or people who are just genuinely curious and want a no bullshit take on what it's like navigating all of this for the first time, building a business from the ground up. How do you stay who you are when you're just getting a lot of advice and opinions and criticisms, handling sponsorships and brand deals and how that affects your channel, getting management, how much money do you actually make? Like, I'm going to be giving you numbers on what I make. And in the end, how everything I've experienced up to this point has led me to the place where I brought up in a few videos ago of me like ending up wanting to using my YouTube as a catalyst to build my life outside of social media in the end. I'm kind of digging this microphone setup. The camera's so far away, I can't pick up audio on the microphone on the camera. It gets muffled if I clip it here. Like, maybe I'll clip it to a cat toy. Because I just don't know what to do with my hands a lot of the time. That's part of the reason too. Anyways, I've also got some notes here because there's a lot to get into and I just don't want to forget anything. I did make a video like this before, about 3 months after I quit my full-time job, but there's only so much I could say at that point because I was still going through kind of a pretty rough transition period and I didn't have a resolution to anything I was experiencing yet, and I still had so much unknown on how things would actually end up unfolding. So I couldn't do a full reflection in that video, so I think this video will touch on a lot of the unanswered questions from that one. When I made that last video, there was a lot of people who wanted to hear more about like the brand deals and sponsorship side to things and more transparency with money. So I think I'm going to start with that. First of all, I feel like I need to say, like, I'm so grateful for all of the brand and sponsorship opportunities that I've had on this channel on such a consistent basis. Honestly, from what I know, I'm very lucky in that way, and it's not every creator's experience. So talking about this, I don't ever want to sound ungrateful. I don't want it to come off that way because that's genuinely not how I feel. I'm so grateful. I know I wouldn't even be here if I didn't have the sponsorships and that I've had to help support me. But a huge reason brand deals have been so consistent for me is because of you. Brands really look to video engagement, like likes, comments, and views when determining how much they want to pay me to promote their product. But I think for vlog channels specifically, views really ebb and flow depending on what you have going on in your life, and so naturally your rate also fluctuates along with that. That's one of the biggest challenges, honestly, is like, how do I budget when I don't know if I'm gonna like have that amount of money every month, So I would try to set things aside just in case I end up having a slower month. Like, there are definitely slower times of the year when it comes to content creation. In the summer, for me specifically, my views definitely drop because I think everyone's outside and living their life. And in the winter and fall, people are at home more, on their phones more, perhaps. They're more inclined to like purchase things during the holiday season as well. And so brands also will likely have more money in their budget for the holidays than they do at other times of the year because they know that you'll probably be able to sell more things too. For context, my channel started to blow up. Blow up is a big word, but it started to gain traction around like March or April of 2023. Like, I went from like 4,000 subscribers to something around 70,000 by by September and October, when I was like nearing the end of my corporate life. So up until about maybe 1 to 2 months before I quit, I was really apprehensive to start incorporating brand deals into my content because brand deals were never the goal of my channel. I'm typically on the lower consumption side of things. Some of you might disagree because I have a lot of things, but like, my content doesn't revolve around finding you a product recommendation. There's nothing wrong with channels that are like that because I honestly like watching them because there's people I trust to go to for a recommendation for things. But personally, who I am is I don't really pay attention to that in my day-to-day life. So I declined pretty much everything for about 6 months. And then when I was like, okay, maybe I should start considering this. Like, is this actually going to be something I try and take the leap to do full time? And I know brand deals are obviously going to be a part of that. And so that it's that at that point that I decided to take on management. I am represented by Friends with Benefits Talent, FWB Talent. I absolutely love them. But the main reason I ended up needing management was mostly because of like contract negotiation. I didn't want to get taken advantage of as a smaller creator, which happens so often. I needed help like negotiating rates. Mind you, I had no friends in the content creator industry at that point. I was just kind of on my own little island trying to navigate all this by myself. So there's no one I could really go to ask for advice for any of this. So I just kind of set a rate based on some sort of like calculator that I just Googled. And it was obviously very wrong. My management stepped in and they're like, you're really underselling yourself. It's like, oh, I'm glad you're here. But they also provided me like opportunities to go to events and like connect with other creators, which I wanted to do because honestly at that point, I had sacrificed so much to grow my channel that my social life was one of those things, and I just didn't have many friends. And I'm like, okay, this would be a fun way to like get into rooms I wouldn't otherwise be in, not for networking necessarily, but just for, yeah, genuinely making online friends. Could not manage all of this on my own with my full-time job. Like I remember trying to Google clauses and contracts on my lunch break and being like, I don't know if I should sign this. I just really didn't want to get sued. It's just an awkward transition. And my inbox was not overflowing, but at that point when my channel was gaining traction, there was a lot more than I could personally handle. I don't know if it's a lot compared to other people, but it was more than I can handle. So I was like, yes, management is the move. But yeah, I see comments sometimes of people confused on what the purpose of management really is in the influencer industry. And I understand that people have certain assumptions about it. And in the comments that I see of, oh, did your manager tell you to say that? Or you think that they're telling you to post certain things or telling you have to work with certain brands or you're out. Like it's, at least from my experience, it has not been like that at all. My managers don't know my posting schedule. They don't sign off on any of my content, only if it's a sponsorship, like that 1 minute clip or whatever that I stick in a YouTube video. My managers just present me with all the information that I need to make an informed decision about if I feel comfortable moving forward with the brand, if I align with them, and all that jazz. Hi, Gordo. He's here now. Bird's here now. Sorry, quick break. So yeah, how I pay my management is they take 20% of what I make just from sponsorships and brand deals, and then they pocket that money and then I keep the rest. Yeah, for me, the 20% is 100% worth it because they're way more connected with brands than I ever would, meaning that like I would get more opportunities in that way, which would make me more money, which essentially just pays for itself. But also they're really well connected in the industry too and have knowledge that I would never be able to gain because that's what they do is like they talk with brands and other creators and stuff. And so they have a really deep understanding of the current, I guess state maybe isn't the right word, but the current state of the influencer industry. Genuinely though, all the brands that I've worked with on my channel, I really do believe in and I really love. And there's some brands that I've really liked that I've turned down because it just didn't fit with my current goals. And then, that brand may or may not consider me for another campaign further down the line. I feel like it's important that I am really picky with this and I prioritize vetting brands. I really do my due diligence and I vet them. I'm not trying to like say that to get a cookie from you guys. I'm honestly probably just taking all this too seriously and you guys are like, girl, just shut up and get your bag. But at the heart of things, these brands are paying me for access to you. And I worked so freaking hard to build this channel from freaking nothing. I'm like, if I break that trust with you, which, I feel like it's happened with my channel before. It's incredibly hard to rebuild that. Yeah, you guys mean a lot to me on so many levels and I just wouldn't want to do anything to put that in jeopardy. Some brands, they want a lot of control over your full video, that your full vlog you're going to post or whatever. They want to approve the title, approve the thumbnail, approve the full video along with approving the ad before you can post. There are times when brands give you full creative freedom for the ad and don't even care about like what else is in your video. And that's my favorite. I mean, obviously I know you guys better than the brand does. So like I know what kind of ads that you like to watch. And that's the point for me is like to make the ad like maybe even more exciting than the video itself. Again, not saying that I do that every time, but like, yeah, some brands are really into that and they're into like extreme creativity, but some brands, like another example is they just give you a script. Like one time there was a brand that, of course I'm not going to name names, but it was a 3-minute ad and they gave me like a breakdown of what they wanted me to say for each like 5-second increment. Like they wanted me to mention the brand within the first like 5 to 10 seconds, and in the first 0 to 5 there was other talking points, and then within 10 to 15 seconds there was other talking points. I'm like, how the hell am I supposed to make this sound natural? There's also times when a brand doesn't provide like a brief at all with no talking points, and I just literally go to the website and I pull whatever I feel like is relevant. And I mean, I don't mind doing that at all because I have full creative freedom to make the script. But again, like, for most brands, you send them a concept before you film, so that if they don't like the concept, then you don't have to go and refilm and redo the whole thing, because that would just be a waste of everyone's time. So I almost prefer, like, even if a brand doesn't ask for a concept, I'm like, maybe it would just be a good idea to make one anyway, especially if my concept is a little bit out there. I just don't want anxiety about that, about them ever rejecting it because of that, because then sometimes you just don't have time to like rewrite it, refilm it, re-edit it, and resubmit it by the day that you want to post. And yeah, some brands, they don't want voiceovers at all. They just want strictly like talking head, face to face, face to camera. Yeah, and they're brands that don't want to pay you for your work. I only had this happen one time, thankfully, but I know creators who experience this quite often, is like chasing brands for the money. That's another reason I love having management, is because they handled all of that like awkward conversation and like hounding the brand for my money. You would assume that if they signed you in contract to do something, that they already had the money to pay you. I guess sometimes things change, but that's another good point. Is it's also happened recently where I had a brand like have to pull out from working with me because of tariffs. But a majority of the time though, like the teams are so wonderful, like so wonderful, so accommodating. You know, they're open to listen to my creative ideas as long as I also listen to theirs, and make sure that the ad is the vibe that they want too, because I'm also representing their brand. And just most of the time it's the best experience, and the teams are so lovely. And sometimes like the brand teams also actually watch my videos, and that's really cool. So yeah, it's built some really great relationships in that regard for sure. So this may be one of my hotter takes, but yeah, I get most of my entertainment from YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. And as a viewer, I'm just so burnt out by the amount of ads I get pushed on me every single day. It feels like every other post is a freaking ad for something. And in that regard, I think I'm really experiencing ad fatigue. And I know I'm not the only one feeling that way. Sometimes it's content creators, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just Instagram, you know, pushing out an ad, a random ad. But it is good to keep in mind that when you see like one of your favorite content creators having made an ad, like that is how they're able to keep making content for you, and not just making content for you, but keeping the content free for you to watch. But yeah, I understand the frustration around it, because I'm very much experiencing ad fatigue as well. And it's a bit depressing knowing that like I need to rely on ads to be able to support myself in this way. Experiencing ad fatigue is kind of another reason why I decided to go back to school, because I want my videos to kind of feel like an oasis away from all of that, kind of like how it used to be, honestly, but with a clear career trajectory in an industry that I feel excited about and like I have a future with, versus like my last corporate job. I was an executive assistant, and I just really didn't see a future in the industry, as amazing opportunity as that job was. But I digress. But sometimes I just miss the days when creating videos was felt a bit more freeing, when you can just pick up the camera and shoot a video and you don't have to think about anything else, or timing or content or logos in the shot and all that stuff. It just felt a little bit easier. Anyways, another element to brand deals that took me a long time to adjust to actually was finding the right balance of how many brand deals I should take with the amount of videos that I post. Because I post 4 videos a month, typically, if the month's longer than probably 5 videos. And now that you know more of my values surrounding my channel, you know I don't like to have an ad in every video, just for the sake of like needing a break from it and just still enjoying the content creation process. Right before I quit my job, I think I had like 6 or 7 brand deals lined up for like after I had officially finished with work for the next maybe 8 weeks, which was way too many. And that is definitely one of my bigger regrets. I don't blame myself for taking that many brand deals, because I feel like at the time I wanted a sense of financial security to make me feel more comfortable to actually quit my job too, as I know I have all that money coming in. Having that sense of job security made the whole experience maybe a lot less anxious in that experience. And also I didn't know how long brands would continue to want to work with me, honestly, because at that point I was still experiencing a bit of a growth period, but I didn't know if at any point it would drop off and then I would not have any brand deals at all, and then I would need to have saved that money. So I was also trying to capitalize on the moment of growth, which I'm really glad I did in that regard. But yeah, it's from that experience of being like, that is way too many brand deals in that amount of time for the amount of content that I was able to consistently put out, and I'm never doing that again. So I found a good balance now to be 2 sponsorships a month, and I don't go any more than that typically. But I haven't really asked you ever how you've been feeling with the balance of my sponsored versus not sponsored content. Let me know what you think in the comments too, if you think it's too much. Frankly, I'm not sure though if the amount of sponsorships I'll need to take might need to increase a little bit because of school and because of like the vet bills and like what I foresee for Deli needing with her heart condition, like an MRI, pacemaker situations. But if I do end up needing to take on more brand deals, I feel like I would want to balance that out with maybe an extra video per month that's not sponsored. So you would be getting more content and you still wouldn't feel like every video had an ad in it, you know. In terms of finances, I have 2 streams of income, and they're only from YouTube. So I have my monthly Google AdSense check, which is money that I make from like the ads that you see in this video. It fluctuates all the time, but in general for AdSense, I make around like maybe $3,500 to maybe $4,000 on a really good month. And so my brand deal rate right now for like, we'll say a 60-second integration in one of my vlogs is between like $3,000 to $4,000 on the higher end of things. It varies a lot, honestly. Different brands have different priorities when it comes to determining your monetary value. And so it just could vary so much, but I would say $3,000 to $4,000, it's a good like average point. Not all of that money goes into my pocket, just to be clear, but I'll touch more on that in a second. And then if I do 2 brand deals a month, we'll say like, again, it's like $3,000 to $4,000 each. So we'll say like maybe I make $6,000 to $8,000 a month on brand deals. When I receive this money, I do not have taxes taken out of it. And it's so important if you're an aspiring content creator to know this. When you get paid from Google AdSense or from brands, I set aside 30% because I'm in New York City and we just are taxed up the wazoo. Okay, so if we calculate on the lower end of the spectrum, I have my numbers written on my computer. So for AdSense income, net income, we'll say $24.50 per month. And then for brand deals, remember I give 20% of what I make from my brand deals to my management. My management doesn't get any of my AdSense money, just my brand deal money. So if I do 2 $3,000 brand deals, that's $6,000, and then I just slice that in half and just take 50% out, and then I walk away with $3,000 net pay for that month. So total net income per month is around $54.50, which is quite a lot of money. My rent is like $2,370 alone, and that's a humongous chunk of my monthly income. That's definitely more than I would want to spend, but it's not something that I'm really looking to change. Any less money than this, I would really like need to downsize and go further out of Manhattan. Like rent increases are definitely happening. My apartment's currently rent stabilized. I'm like, it's not an option for me to move. And it's kind of sad that $2,370 from what I'm paying for this apartment is very standard for New York. Anyways, that's not what this video is about. So yeah, you can see that I'm not living like the big influencer life just yet. I'm still a very small fish in this YouTube world. I'm hopeful that that money amount increases with the growth of my channel if that happens, or it could also go down depending on literally any factor at all. But to be honest, this is about the amount of net take-home pay that I was making in corporate world as well. I found that setting up my business was actually really difficult because there's no one to hold your hand throughout the process and you're very much on your own with taxes and like the bookkeeping side of things. Especially I was extremely lost in the first few months, and I was like, I have a whole year of taxes that I need to do, and quarterly taxes, like, do I have to do that? I don't know. So I ended up finding like a full accounting, tax, bookkeeping service specifically for content creators, and they know exactly what I can write off and everything, because I just had nobody to ask for it, and I never had anyone else do my taxes. I've never done quarterly taxes, so they helped take care of all of that and organize my finances and help me do my tax return. That was really cool. And now they send me like profit and loss sheets pretty often, and they send me like an estimated amount of like how much I owe for federal taxes and then how much I owe for state taxes. It is very expensive, by the way, but I find it worth every penny, honestly. But they also helped me set up my LLC as well, which was, that part was easy, pretty easy. But I did that at the beginning of 2024. I set up a business bank account to go with my LLC. Which now it's great. All of my checks from my management get sent directly to my business bank account, and then I pay myself through my business bank account to my personal account, and it's like a very well-oiled machine, I guess. But my God, I had some drama with Chase Bank. Yeah, I'm calling you out. 3 days after opening the account, they shut down my account with no notice. Mind you, when I opened my account, I had deposited 5 figures of brand deal checks like the day that I opened the account. And that was my biggest regret. That caused me so much pain. So I recommend never doing that with any bank, is depositing checks like the moment that you open the account, because they could cancel your account without any notice. And then my checks were still processing at the point that they closed my account. And when I tell you it took me a month to get my money back, my management can tell you, like, I was in tears. They closed my account because they thought the checks I deposited were suspicious. And obviously it wasn't, and they just couldn't verify them. It was almost felt like they were just trying to con me to keep my money anyways. But it all ended up working out, and I got my money back a month later. And yeah, I'm never going back again. And I don't think they want me back either. So it's mutual hate. Now I've kind of expanded in a way that I have my 2 managers, I've had my bookkeeper, my accountant, and then I have my tax person. And then now I'm so sorry. I just hired on an assistant video editor to start helping me edit videos as soon as I start school, which is the only way that I'm going to be able to be consistent while I'm having to focus more on studying and stuff. Like, well, for one, I'm so proud of myself for delegating some of the editing process, but they're going to take on a lot of like the initial rough cut, and then I'm going to step in the end and like do all the fun edits, like add the music and make sure that my video still stays within my style. And so it's going to be freaking crazy, but I feel like I'm setting myself up well for that. And I know some of you were concerned about my mental health when it comes to how much I'm taking on coming up in a few months. And so that's my plan. The right move for me was to quit my job and go full time with my channel. But I wish I had considered more about like how this change would affect my audience and honestly like my channel content as well. I wasn't thinking about what my audience would think. I solely made that decision based on what I needed in that moment, like recovering from extreme burnout that I was experiencing. You all could see like how much in chaos I was. So that's where my mind was at. In that video where I announced that I was officially going to be a full-time creator, I was very naive and over optimistic about how things were going to go. And I can't even like honestly look back and watch that video because I just find it so sad. Like, I'm not saying nothing good happened, but again, you see the good side to things in my other videos. So now we're getting into like what I don't talk about and haven't talked about, which is a lot more of the darker side of things. After making that announcement, like I assumed things would be going a lot smoother from there in terms of making content and in my mental health. But the fact that, like I talked about before, how I had signed on to like 6 or 7 brand deals in a really short amount of time, but I was so burnt out. I like couldn't leave my apartment, and I vlogged through that like transition period of healing from burnout. But I realized that a lot of people don't like change when it comes to stuff like this. And I understand that. A lot of the criticism I received, I really do understand now, and I find it completely valid. What I wish I had done was take like a month off of YouTube, post marathon finishing and post quitting my job, and just reset off camera so I could come back like full energy, ready to take everything on. And looking back, it's hard for me to say that I would have ever chosen to do that because of financial security. A lot of my audience was so supportive, and there's so many of you guys who will follow me no matter where my channel pivots. And I think that's something special about having a vlog channel, is that I'm taking you through life in like the most authentic way that I can. And so there's gonna be so many different chapters. I didn't realize that a lot of my audience didn't connect with me in that way, where they're like, we'll follow you through everything. And I get it now. I built my channel on relatability, honestly. I built my channel sharing my life around my 9 to 5 and just talking about how stressed I was all the time. And people related to that. At that time, we were all going through like being on the hamster wheel, and we were all just kind of commiserating together on my channel. And I loved like having that, you guys' support, and like knowing that I wasn't alone in that. And then I totally see now stepping out of that so quickly, and it was a surprise to everybody. That's like a crazy pivot, and I should have seen the response coming. And at the time, I was frustrated that a lot of my audience didn't see this like from my perspective of, I've worked so hard for this, I've built this, and now I'm finally getting to do what I want to do. But a lot of the people really just wanted, you know, a friendly face online going through and representing kind of what they were going through in their life. I'm never going to compare editing my YouTube videos to working a 9 to 5. Maybe hot take, I think working my 9 to 5 was way harder than running my own business, honestly, just because of the demand, the mental demand to have to be sat at a computer for, I was like there for 9 hours in the office for 9 hours, commuting an hour to get there and commuting an hour home. So I was gone like what? From 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. every freaking day. And that is what was really hard for me about the 9 to 5, is just having no balance. There was no time to pursue anything outside of that. And so that's what in my mind made it like an obvious choice to break free from that if I could. And that was really lovely to see that too, that there was so many people that supported me through that. It did make it kind of scary when I told people I was going back to school, but I feel like that was received a lot better. So there was a couple months there in my videos where I was just strictly recovering from burnout. And that did spark a lot of criticism in my comment sections and on Reddit. Reddit was more of like just extreme, mindless hate. I think vloggers and lifestyle creators experience this to a whole separate degree, where criticism and hate feels really personal because it directly correlates with, your life and who you are. And it was really, really hard for me to separate myself from that criticism. Like, people are not seeing the entirety of my life. They don't even know me fully, and I don't know them. So why am I even caring? But it does feel like a personal attack, especially as a people pleaser. And I realized that my sense of self-worth and my self-esteem was just rooted in what other people thought of me and in making my audience happy. And it just happened to be that lesson I needed to learn, that I just cannot make everybody happy. What I can do is just show my life as authentically as I can and kind of just tune everything else out. And so that's what I did. And it did make my, when I first quit, and that did make my content kind of boring because I'm just home a lot. So yeah, the first 6 months of being full-time was pretty much a downward spiral. But I honestly feel like I needed to hide that from you guys because I felt like there was truly nothing more cringe than a content creator complaining about being a content creator when, as you know, I've clearly expressed that there's so much privilege that you have with this job. Like, no one's gonna feel sorry for you. This is a reason why the first Vlogmas I did really tanked. My ego decided that I should do Vlogmas when I really wasn't ready to, and I just wanted to prove everybody wrong. And prove that I was working hard because I had all the time in the world. So why am I not like busting my ass to vlog every single day in December? The worst idea ever. And because I was so miserable, people were complaining about it. And then I was just like, I'm done. Like, I'm getting anxiety from posting. I feel way too exposed. And that feeling didn't leave for a really, really long time. And sometimes I still get really, actually to this day, I get anxious posting videos because I don't know how it's going to be received, or like what kind of rogue comment is going to fly in my comment section. And I feel like sometimes the trolls like me because they know I actually read my comments and they want to hurt me. But newsflash, I handle criticism and all this stuff a lot better than I used to. My skin is my skin is a lot thicker now. But yeah, I was dealing with a lot of anxiety, and it was wrecking my mental health. It's a huge reason why I never actually went to posting more than once a week. It's not that I couldn't do it or I didn't have the time to do it. It's that I just felt way too exposed. Yeah, I think one of the worst comments I ever got was right after I had raised like $10,000 for the American Brain Tumor Association. Someone accused me of using that money on myself. They're like, how convenient that you quit your job right after you raised 10K for a charity. And I was just so offended by that. This is a very real thing that content creators experience. It's something that you can't really escape. But while like I knew this was going to be a part of deciding that I wanted to do this with my life, it doesn't justify bullying. And people are just getting more and more unhinged as the years go on. And it's just not something that I realize I want to subject myself to maybe for the rest of my life. So yeah, while I can handle it now, I just don't see myself being able to want to handle it forever. It feels like sometimes that people just want you to fit into a box to make them feel more comfortable. My messy apartment really triggers people. Letting my dishes pile up really triggers people. Me going like not wearing makeup, me gaining a few pounds, me having greasy hair really triggers people. What I eat really triggers people. Oh my gosh. And some things I do listen to when it's actually constructive, but I'm learning to do less listening and less internalizing of what people say, and only listen to advice from people that I trust and people that I know and people that I admire. I want people to have an opinion on things. I want people to feel like they can discuss it in my comments. I'm realizing that some of that stuff is just not my business. My business is making the videos where people can engage with each other, and that's what I need to worry about. all this has been a great lesson for me in learning how to stand up for myself, changing and growing where I need to because it's like what I want to do for myself. I think I have to turn the light on. It's getting kind of dark in here. Is that better? Good. I think though for content creators, especially content creators in New York City, it can be really easy to lose sight of how good we have it because I guess I'll just speak for myself. I'm very much in my own bubble, more so now than I ever have. The side of New York City that we experience and show in our videos is vastly different from the day-to-day of an average New Yorker. And that includes the content that I make. I usually make a video every year on my advice to you if you're looking to move to New York City in that certain year. And I didn't make one this year because I don't take the subway every day. I'm really in my own bubble. I don't have a commute. So I feel like my opinions are not well informed because the whole value of me making those videos is sharing things from my experience because you trust me from the other videos that I make, and I would just be going off of what I see on the news and in the media, and you can do that yourself. Maybe when I'm a bit more integrated in society, once I go back to school and stuff, that will change, and then I'll have more to report. But for now, my opinions on those things would just be out of touch. So yeah, I learned pretty quickly after quitting my job that full-time YouTube was just not for me. I love editing. I love creating a story, but maybe just in a different way that's just less pressure on my own lifestyle because I think that just kind of took the fun out of it, honestly. And I felt really directionless because I thought this was like going to let me cruise up until retirement, So I was like, well, this is the dream I've been working for, is something artistic and editing and whatnot. So without that, like, where do I go from here? And so I felt really directionless for a lot of time. And it just was a lot of reflecting this last year of what does success actually mean for this channel? And when does the chase for growth actually end? And how many subscribers are enough subscribers? At what point will I not feel like a failure with the amount of views my video gets compared to other creators? Like, what's the actual long game here? And then trying to figure out my direction with that, I was looking at content creators with my similar niche and the path that they went down. And gosh, so many people are so successful in this niche, and I admire them and look up to them so much. And it's just a lot of being around other people, like in terms of interviewing people. And not that I would ever get those opportunities, but that could be a possibility for where my channel goes. Building courses and going to events and things. And I just realized that that's not what I want for me. Again, it's totally fine for those who do want it and they're so good at it, but it's just not for me. Yes, I am an introvert and I hate public speaking, so none of that would be fun. And so yeah, I realized like YouTube just needed to be a tool for me to build a separate life outside of social media. And I think having something for me to build outside of YouTube will be so beneficial for me and my mental health, give me options for my future, and be interesting for you to follow because I didn't know how many of y'all are going back to school. I didn't know how common it was for people to get like their master's and second bachelor's degree. That was a shock to me. So it seems like we're all on the same page here in our 30s too. I think there's some people that might think that me going back to school means that I failed at content creating, and I disagree. The fact that my channel has been so successful because of you, I'm able to go back to school. So I think this cannot be a more exciting and promising outcome for having pursued this full time for the time that I did. And will be doing for the next 4 years. Like, I'll be full time for a while. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. It's really cool to be a part of a growing industry like content creation has been. Influencing is predominantly a female-led industry, and women are just so empowering and really good at building community. A lot of the times they're also, there's a lot of small men who have issues with women finding success in this way. But who cares what they think? All this has become something so special, and I'll just be forever grateful for you guys that we all just found each other on this big wide internet. And that my videos resonated with you in a way that you wanted to stick around for however long. If you're watching this considering maybe going full time, I hope this didn't discourage you. I hope this helped you make a more informed decision, because if I had this kind of advice and this kind of information, I maybe would have made less mistakes, and I would definitely approach things differently. So feel free to learn from my mistakes. I wish you all the courage in the world to take that leap, to quit your 9-to-5 if that's what you've been wanting to do and that's what you're ready for, because we'd have just as much stability in this industry as people do in their 9 to 5s these days, let's be honest, freaking do it. This is your sign, because I think you'd regret not betting on yourself. I know this was a really freaking long one, holy moly, but yeah, I just hope it was informative or insightful in some way, and it gave you a better idea on the other side to YouTube that maybe you had no idea about, and that I'm still learning about, because, you know, I don't know how I'm going to feel about this in a year maybe, but it could be very different. So if you like this video, please let me know in the comments what resonated with you, or if you have any advice from being full-time that you want to add on to anything, or if you disagree with anything, let's hash it out in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a like before you go. The engagement really helps YouTube recognize my channel and push it out to other awesome people like you, so we can continue to grow this wonderful community. I love you. Thanks for listening. And yeah, I'll see you in my next video. Bye. You're too far.